Hey everybody, I hope everyone is doing as well as can be expected. Wanted to make this hopefully as brief as possible video tutorial on some tricks and do's and don'ts on some of the file and folder sharing we're seeing as we do more collaborative work, distance, crisis learning, whatever we're calling it. Within the Google Drive infrastructure. So I'm going to just go ahead and show you a few helpful things, hopefully, that will make you able to be a little more efficient and your file shares and permissions remain intact and persist the way they're supposed to. So everybody kind of knows my Drive. So I'm using a separate account. This isn't my account in Kellogg Schools. It's one that we make to do demonstrations. So it looks pretty much like the typical Drive. There's some shared folders in there. There's some normal folders. There's listing the owners. You'll see that there's this KSD391 share, and it's shared by Kellogg Schools admin. That's actually an administrative super admin user. And we made that to ensure when people come and go from the district that when we either delete their account or they leave and take their account, their files with them, that we don't lose those files that they shared with others. Now, we set this up years and years and years ago, and in the meantime, Google came up with a concept called Team Drives, T-E-A-M. They have since, in Google fashion, renamed them to shared drives. So just a quick primer here. Your drive is basically just your Google Drive, and then within your drive will be a possible collection of shared drives, which are based on groups and buildings and departments. We're not really using them. We may do that in the future, as they're quite helpful, but that would also involve a learning curve and some necessary training, and we didn't want to add another thing to staff and teachers' plates at this point. So we are still doing it sort of the original way, the kind of long way to do it. But Gwen and Brett and I came up with this sort of before shared drives were a thing, and we're just going to go ahead and keep on with that for now. So you know that when you go into your drive, there may be drives that have been shared with you, or I should say folders or files. And you can see that down here, there's a list of files and folders that are shared with this user, but this list can go on and on and on, especially teachers, because their students are sharing files with them, their principals sharing files with them, their secretaries sharing files with them. Long story short, this is a lot of stuff, and it can be hard to go back and find shared folders and files if they're not recently edited. So of course, you can go up here and search for them. Sometimes that's hard because you forget what the name of it was. The one commonality that usually does happen, though, is if you go to your email, it will usually have that original message from the person that shared the folder with you. And I wanted to show you something where this one came through when I shared this folder for this demonstration. It went to the Updates tab. There it is. And I shared it from my Simon Miller account. And that's really not wrong. It's just Google trying to figure out what goes where. But you can kind of help Google learn. If you don't want these to go to Updates or any of these other tabs, you can go just click when your cursor turns into the finger there. You can just drag it to your primary, and then Google will ask you, do you want to do this for future messages from, and it'll use those characteristics. I say yes, because I want that stuff coming to my primary inbox. That really to you is up to you. You can also use messages that are in your inbox and drag them to these tabs and have them classified as such and learn to be smart, so your inbox is a little more manageable. But that's not the point of this tutorial. That's just a little bonus material there. So there's my folder share, right? Simon Miller has invited me to contribute to this folder share. You get these every day. It's great when they're at the top of your inbox. You can click here, it takes you to your drive. There's the shared folder that you needed. There's the list of assignments or the meeting notes from the staff meeting that your principal set up. So this is great when it's working that way. So I'm going to close just the rest of these folders. I did this tutorial once and I'm doing a retake here. But what happens when you either archive or delete, or this email goes to the very bottom of your ever so overwhelming email? Then it becomes hard to find that. You got to email the person that shared it with you and say, where's that folder? Let me show you a good way to help keep track of that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that initial share. And there it shows me kind of some breadcrumbs as to where this is. But what I want to do is I want to click this little drop down, and there's a little there's an item here called Add Shortcut to Drive. I want to make sure that I specify this and show you exactly how we want, or the best way to do this. You don't want to do move to, because move to, let's say somebody gave you full access to that folder and you move it, and that folder gets moved out of another folder that's shared, you're going to alter all the shared files, and then other people may lose access to that shared resource. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to add a shortcut to Drive. What that means is you're making sort of a shadow copy of that in your Drive structure that should allow you to find it easily and doesn't alter the characteristics and sharing of that original file or folder. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. I'm going to go ahead and go to my Drive. I'm going to make a folder, and I'm going to use here's another tip. I'm going to put a 1 at the beginning. Oops. I'll say shared with me. Okay. So I put a 1 in the front of that folder, and I'm making this in my Drive, remember, just right out on the root of my Drive. And now I'm going to put that shortcut with the blue button. I'm going to say add the shortcut into that folder. Now let me show you why I did that. Why did I put a 1 at the beginning? Because now when I go back to my Drive, if I want to sort by alphanumeric, which I am doing right here by the designation of that arrow, I could go over here and sort by other characteristics if I wanted to, file size, last modified, and all that. But what I like about using alphanumeric and then putting numbers and symbols at the beginning is those float. I call it float to the top. Okay, so remember I made that folder. That is actually mine by the designated icon. You can see it's not shared. It's just in my Drive. I'm going to double click it, and you'll notice inside of there now there's a folder. The one that I'm going to go back to the email. Here's the name of it: Folder for Drive Shortcut Demo. There it is, Folder for Drive Shortcut Demo. Except this is designated as, you can see that little kind of curly arrow there, icon on the corner of that icon. That is a shortcut. So that means that just takes me quickly to that folder structure, and I didn't have to move it, so I could find it. So again, if someone else shares a file with you or a folder, all you have to do is go to that particular, I'll just use this again as an example. Let's say this was a different, or let's say to this test file. You can just right click that, and you can do add a shortcut to Drive. So you can do this with any shared item, whether it be a doc, a sheet, or a folder from other people into your Drive. And so now you have that easy way to go back and find, and you can name it important files shared with me, or you can name it whatever you want. You can, as long as it makes sense to you. And then you'll always have access to that share as long as that person maintains that sharing with you. Now, the nice part about this as well is if you're using the PC, Windows PC app, Google Drive File Sync, which we highly recommend, this will also show up. Let me make sure I'm going to the right thing here. This right here will also show up, this shortcut folder for Drive Shortcut Demo, in that file structure as well. So you can use that from a Windows File Explorer. That's important, like with the non-Google files, and that makes life a lot easier as well. Okay, so this hasn't been, it's not too bad, under 10 minutes. I hope it's been helpful. We'll go over some other things here shortly. We'll try to get some of these videos out as much as we can. If you would like to see any other videos, let us know. Let us know how this one was. I want to say subscribe and leave a comment in the comments below. But that just means I've been watching way too much YouTube. Hope everybody's well and healthy.